Good morning, everyone. The time is 9 a.m. I call to order the September 14th, 2023 meeting of the Contractors State License Board. I am Diana Love, the board chair. Today, Mary Tigard and Jacob Lopez have approved absences, and Alan Guy will be here a little bit later. He is stuck in traffic. Vice Chair Mike Mark, can you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mariah, can you please call the roll?
Diana Love,
Present.
Joelle Barton,
Here.
Rodney Kobos,
Here.
David De La Torre,
Here.
Miguel Galarza,
Here.
Amanda Gallo,
Here.
Susan Granzella,
Here.
Alan Guy, absent, Jacob Lopez, approved absence, Michael Mark,
Here.
Stephen Pinelli,
Here.
Jim Ruane,
Here.
Mary Teichert, approved absence. We have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to welcome a new board member, Joelle Barton, public member, appointed by the Senate Rules Committee in June of 2023. Joelle, would you like to take a couple minutes to tell us about yourself?
Well, thank you, Diana. Yeah, I currently serve as the Business Manager Financial Secretary of IBEW Local Union 11 in Los Angeles, and I'm also the Secretary-Treasurer of the California State Association of Electrical Workers. I have 47 years in the construction industry, both working in all aspects of the electrical trade, and as a native Los Angelino, I look forward to serving along with my colleagues, my esteemed colleagues on this board, and thank you for welcoming me.
Thank you, Mr. Barton, and welcome to the Contractors State License Board. And next, I would like to recognize and congratulate Carol Gagnon. Effective today, Carol is the new Chief of Licensing. Carol has 17 years of experience at CSLB and 9 years as manager of the Examination Development Unit. Welcome, Carol, to your new role. We will now take the opportunity for the rest of you here at the table to introduce yourselves, and I will start with myself. I am Diana Love, Board Chair, Public Member, and I represent a senior organization. And I'll turn it over to Dave.
Good morning, David Foat, Registrar.
John Kinn, DCA Legal Affairs.
Michael Mark, I'm Vice Chair of this board as well as the Chair of the Legislative Committee. I'm a Planning and Development Director for Sheet Metal Workers Local 104. We cover the entirety of Northern California.
Yafana Lamar, Chief of Legislation.
Steve Pinelli, Director, I guess. Committee member.
Jim Ruane, the new Chair of Enforcement. Great to be here.
Steve Grove, Chief of Enforcement.
David De La Torre, Board Member.
Joelle Barton, new board member.
Mike Jemnetsky, Chief Deputy Registrar.
Mariah Rovera, Executive Analyst.
Amanda Gallo, Board Member.
Rodney Kobos, Board Member.
Carol Gagnon, Chief of Licensing and Examinations.
Catherine White, Chief of Public Affairs.
Miguel Galarza, Secretary and Chair of the Public Affairs Committee.
Susan Granzella, Public Member and IT Advisory Committee.
Thank you, everyone. And is there anyone in the audience that would like to come up to the microphone and introduce themselves?
Hi, everyone. Yvonne Durantes, Assistant Deputy Director for Board and Bureau Relations with the Department of Consumer Affairs.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, going forward, next is Agenda Item B, which is for public comment and requests for agenda items for next future meetings. The board values public input as part of our consumer protection mission. To allow us enough time to conduct our full schedule of business today, I'm limiting public comments to 3 minutes apiece. If you have any comments, don't involve an item on today's agenda. This would be the time where you can make them. If you have comments on one of our agenda items, we'd encourage you to wait until we get to that item. We'll give you an opportunity to make your comments at this time. There are a few other rules that apply. First, California law prohibits board members from discussing any matters brought up during public comment. Also, we're not allowed to act on any item not on today's agenda. If you want the board to discuss a topic not on the agenda, you can ask us to consider placing that issue on the agenda of a future meeting. And finally, if you have an application, complaint, or disciplinary charges pending before the board, we ask that you do not discuss the details of your case or pending complaint. That's because board members may be the judges and by law are not permitted to receive evidence or information that is not part of the administrative record in the case. At this time, are there any members of the public who wish to address the board or offer a possible agenda item for a future meeting?
Good morning. My name is Phil Vermeulen. I represent the Flasher Barricade Association, American Contractors Indemnity, and I also am president of Contractor Licensing Center. We license in all 50 states. Something that came up yesterday in my licensing side, it happens all the time, and I've spoken to the registrar about this as well as the deputy registrar. And that is, we had a client that called us, the qualifier of the license dropped dead suddenly, and this happens a lot. And all of a sudden, the family is stuck. Yes, there are provisions in the law and all that, but it causes a lot of upheaval. Recommendation that I'd like to see placed, and also with the sunset review report coming up, this is possibly something you might want to talk about as well in there, is allowing a backup qualifier on licenses. It would bring extra revenue to the board, and it would also help a lot of contractors out there. There is no downside as far as I can tell, and it's something I think we should be looking at. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Sorry. My name's David Rodriguez. I've been here before, but it's been a while. I wanted to just mention a couple of things here. I've been in communication with the board about unlicensed contracting relating to public art and the municipalities that have been hiring unlicensed contractors. And I recently saw that the board did put something on the website to make the public, aware of such a thing. And I want to appreciate that. It's baby steps and all, but it is something. I also wonder, how valuable it's going to be, because as soon as you published that up there, I saw a couple of cities, again, enter right into contracts with unlicensed artists to install public art. And I warned them about that in writing, and bottom line is they don't seem to care. They charged ahead and awarded the contracts anyway. And I see that you had conducted a sting just a few weeks ago, and you arrested an unlicensed painter for a contract for like $700. Meanwhile, the unlicensed artist who's painting murals or what have you, they're giving contracts out in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and nothing happens. Now, I turned in to the board 5 different unlicensed contractors. So it's been a couple of years when I first started out this, and the board went and they cited one of them, which was the smallest amount too. I wonder what's up with that, but when that unlicensed contractor that you arrested goes to court and all this, he is not going to tell anybody, hey, I got arrested by the board for unlicensed contracting. Most people just shut the hell up. They don't want anybody to know about that. But you don't get much value out of this. Nobody knows that there's a license law if you don't really make publication of this and make a point of it. Now, if you go and arrest some artist that is contracting with a city entity for a few $100,000, believe me, that's going to make an impact. They're going to make some headlines out there, and word will get out. So I just wonder, though, if the board members in this room have the political will to do something like that. We're talking about, the city of Sacramento, Darrell Steinberg. I went before him, and for Christ's sake, this guy is a lawyer. He chaired the Business and Professions Committee while he was in the state legislature. And I pointed out what he was doing was illegal, and he didn't care. So they're so intertwined with the artists that they choose, they don't care whether they have the proper credentials to do the work. They just want it to be done, and they want to pay them. So I'm asking to take a second look at this thing and see what value can actually come out of this in the long run. Thank you. And again, thank you for doing what you did, putting that up on the website. That was a big deal. Good start. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, moving forward. The next on the, excuse me, let me go back. Are there any board members that have any items they'd like to put on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll go on to the next agenda item. Item C, presentation of certificates of recognition. This is a standing agenda item. You may have noticed that we have individuals in the back of the room that are continuing to come in. I'm very pleased to recognize today there are approximately 31 staff members from the CSLB licensing division, specifically from the various licensing application units. Collectively, this team has worked over the past several months to bring application processing times from 6 and 7 weeks down to 1 and 2 weeks. According to the executive division, these units have averaged 3 weeks or higher the past 10 years and have only dropped below 3 weeks once in the past 9 years. There has not been a significant change in the number of incoming applications over the years, so this is truly an impressive achievement. We want to bring them here today to acknowledge them in person for their fantastic work. Due to time constraints and because I do not want to mispronounce any names, we will not read off the names individually. However, all names are prominently displayed on the screen behind me. I will now read the certificate acknowledgement that you will each receive. This certificate is in recognition of your outstanding work, reducing application processing time to approximately 1 week. On behalf of licensed applicants and California consumers, the Contractor State License Board thanks you for your exceptional performance. Please join me in showing our appreciation for these hardworking licensing staff. Okay. Do any board members have any comments? Okay. Carol, do you have any comment? Oh,
No worries. So, thank you, staff. sometimes I know you don't get a lot of gratitude, and people are normally just complaining that things are taking too long. But as a contractor for 30 years, I know how tough the job can be, and I deeply respect the efforts that you've done and continue to improve the performance. So bravo, well done, job done.
And Carol, do you have any comments?
I do. Thank you guys so much. You have done incredible work. I really appreciate it. Keep up the good work, team. You make us all proud. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And we are going to take a group photo, so I'm going to call for a brief recess for about 5 to 10 minutes so that we can take a photo. And I would like to ask Mr. Guy, who I'm glad traffic allowed you to get here just in time, to join us, Dave, Carol, and Mike Jameski, to join us in the photo. I believe we're going to go out in the lobby. So we're going to take a quick break. Thank you. It is now 9:25 a.m., and I'm going to call this meeting back to order. We are now on agenda item D1, the review and possible approval of the June 22nd and June 23rd board meeting minutes, which begin on page 10. Before we do that, I would just like to thank Robin Williams. I believe he's sitting in the back of the room. He's been with us a couple of years, and he prepared the minutes for us today. Thank you, Robin. So let's take a look at the minutes for June 22nd. And do any board members have any edits for the June 22nd board meeting minutes? And if there are no edits, I'm asking for a motion. And for those who do a motion in a second, please state your name for record.
Through the chair, Jim Ruane, motion to approve.
Okay, Jim, and a second?
Alan Guy, second.
And is there any discussion of any kind from the board? Are there any public comments? If none, Mariah, can you please call roll?
Diana Love.
Approved?
Joelle Barton.
Aye.
Rodney Cobos.
Aye.
David De La Torre.
Aye.
Miguel Galarza.
Aye.
Amanda Gallo.
Aye.
Susan Granzella.
Aye.
Alan Guy.
Aye.
Jacob Lopez, approved absence. Michael Mark.
Aye.
Stephen Pinelli.
Abstain, I was not there.
Jim Ruane.
Aye.
Mary Tykert, approved absence. Motion passes.
Thank you. Now, let's take a look at the June 23rd board minutes. Are they together? Is the approval of the June 22nd and 23rd one together?
One, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Next is the Registrar report. There are 3 items in this portion of the agenda, A, B, and C. I want to begin by congratulating Registrar David Foth for being sworn in August 30th as President of the National Association of State Contractors Licensing Agency, or referred to as NASLA. NASLA has a national membership base of 41 state members, including the U.S. territory of Guam, the National Construction Authority, Nauru, Kenya, and over 150 associate, affiliate, and business members. Business members include many multi-state contractors. Dave, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Love. I'd like to begin is by providing an update on the contracting with consultants that the board directed staff to pursue. You may recall last June, I reported that we had we were entering into contract with Cooperative Personnel Services to perform a workload and process improvement study. What this is we're going to take a look at our investigations, how long they should take. Do we have enough resources to handle the number of complaints that we're receiving? I'm pleased to report that the contract was approved in June of 2023, and staff are currently working with CPS to provide them historical data, but also to meet for interviews. So our staff will have the opportunity to meet with CPS, to be interviewed, have a real understanding as to what is involved in conducting an investigation, to look again at whether or not we have enough investigators or consumer service representatives to handle the workload, but also are there opportunities for process improvements to make our investigations a little more efficient. So that is well underway. And some more good news about that, the board approved spending $75,000 for that consultant. CPS came in $7,000 less, so we came in a little less than what the board approved. The second consultant was identified to research the scope of unlicensed practice. That's been an unknown number for forever here, really. How many unlicensed contractors are there, and do we have enough resources to be effective in combating unlicensed activity? With a focus on disaster-related complaints and also declared disaster areas, need to make sure we have the resources that we need to be effective in addressing predatory contractors that come into declared disaster areas. We initially were looking to hire a university to perform that work. We were not successful. That's something I did report in June. What's now happened is we have a request for proposal that we did submit to the Department of Consumer Affairs in June. That we call it an RFP, was finalized this week, and we anticipate it being released to the public tomorrow. So the qualifications that we're looking for is that somebody would have a 4-year degree or higher in business, economics, law, public administration, or related field, that they have professional research experience, and that they have authored or co-authored a government or college or university study or report or something similar. So again, we anticipate that being released tomorrow, so we'll have more information in December as to hopefully the consultant that's been hired to meet that need. If there's any, do you want to ask for any comments for that?
Okay. Are there any board comments? Any comments from the public?
Okay, so moving on to agenda item D2B, and this is an update on NASCLA. Just for some historical reference, I've served on the NASCLA Board of Directors and the Executive Committee for the past 6 years. Prior to being sworn as president, I served as secretary and vice president. It's provided me an opportunity to recommend consumer protection initiatives. And I look at my involvement with NASCLA as being one as to how does it benefit the state of California? How does it benefit this board? And in many ways, I think it does, and I wanted to share some of the initiatives that I've been involved with over the last couple of years. One is establishing a national license database. You know, the thought is, for states that license contractors, we should have a database of those licensees. It's a tool that can be used for 2 reasons. One, if you're vetting an applicant and they have been licensed in another state, you could quickly verify that. So you could verify they were licensed in Nevada, Arizona, wherever it may be, but also to have a disciplinary database. Again, this is public information, but we do need to know if somebody has been revoked in another state. It works well for other states to know that we've revoked somebody here in California, something that our staff are finding very effective. We're processing an application to check the NASCLA database, see if there's been any disciplinary action related to that applicant. So the National License Database, California was the pilot for that. Now it consists of 8 states. We've got a ways to go. But, you know, it's an IT lift, so you have to have IT to transfer the data. And Jason Perez is our IT chief. He's not here with us today, but he was instrumental in getting that set up. So we do have 8 states participating. Second thing we've been involved in, and thanks to Steve Grove, our Chief of Enforcement, we've been working with NASCLA and 11 other states, and we worked with them last June in performing sting and sweep operations targeting unlicensed contractors. So, real effective way to just emphasize the danger unlicensed practice causes to the public and look for ways to be effective in addressing it. This last operation last June, NASCLA identified with the various states 1,002 contractors are out of compliance. They did a nationwide press release. For California, we had 90 legal actions for unlicensed practice and 37 for no workers' compensation insurance. So we got a press release out for that, but it's really looking at it on a national level, just emphasizing the benefits that licensure brings to the public and to the industry. And just one other thing, just to kind of get you up to speed on, is Hawaii. As you know, Hawaii had horrible wildfires, and one thing NASCLA does is it enables me to meet other executive officers, and we do share best practices. So I was able to reach out to Candace Ito. Candace is the executive office for the state of Hawaii, officer for their board. And we have a meeting with her next Tuesday. So she was real excited about the opportunity to talk to Steve and our supervising peace officer, Amanda Martinez, and me on Tuesday to talk about what we experienced with the Paradise wildfires. What laws were effective, what weren't, what strategies can we use to try to deter predatory contractors for coming into the area. So just moving on to the next thing was videos. It's different when it's fascinating in interacting with other states, but they don't always look at things the same way we do. I was talking to Phil and others about it. In California, we're fortunate because there's a lot of support for consumer protection, for keeping the profession clean, if you will. And so we want to emphasize the benefits that licensure brings, and we also recognize that solar is posing a problem in most states. There's a lot of solar complaints. One reason why we're receiving so many complaints here is because we're receiving more than 200 solar complaints a month, and this is something that's troubling. So what can we do to educate consumers? We want to educate the industry, but we also want to help consumers protect themselves. So this was something I really thought NASCLA should focus on. They supported it. It's developing a public safety announcement regarding solar. What are the tips that a consumer could use to not have a bad experience? Most solar contracts are done well with no problems, but there are some that are not. But also, what are the benefits of licensure? In California, this isn't such an issue as it is in some other states. They don't always appreciate regulation. So I think we really need to take a step back and look at the benefits licensure brings to the public and to the industry. So we're going to show two very short videos. They're NASCLA titled right now, but they have agreed to rebrand them as CSLB. Thought is, if you're in support, we rebrand them. We can put them on our website. I also have a meeting on Monday with the National Solar industry, and I'm going to ask that they also distribute the solar one or put it on their website. So that's kind of what we're looking at. We have a good relationship here in California with CALSA, the California Solar Association, but we need to get this out nationwide because we really got to focus on what's happening in the solar industry, and we've talked about it before. And a lot of the problems relate to the front loading of the contracts, not having understanding of the energy savings. Can you really afford to go solar? So if we can, let's show these two videos. They're only about 2 minutes apiece. I don't know if we need to move out of the way here.
In many states, building contractors must be professionally licensed to provide their services to the public. The primary reason for contractor licensing is to protect consumers by ensuring that the work performed meets basic safety standards. Licensing also protects property owners from liability, and it provides consumers with a streamlined process to resolve any complaints that may arise during the project. The benefits of common sense contractor licensing extend beyond individual property owners to the wider public, including supporting local communities and economies. Some of the public benefits of licensing include protecting property and infrastructure, maintaining consistent industry standards across practices, avoiding costly litigation, promoting fair competition, and providing a clear path of opportunity for job seekers. But Most importantly, contractor licensing helps build trust in the industry. From general contractors to electricians, roofers, plumbers, HVAC installers, and others, licensing helps professionals forge relationships that support and protect communities and strengthen local economies.
Before considering a switch to solar power, you should know what your options are and how to protect yourself from potential scams or fraudulent practices by solar energy companies. First, consider if solar power is even right for you. Like any major home decision, review your finances before shopping for a solar system. Check for applicable funding or tax credits from local, state, or federal sources. Determine your required solar system size by evaluating your annual electricity bill and current kilowatt payment. Consider how long you plan to stay in your home. It will take a number of years to recoup in energy savings the money you'll pay for your solar system. Assess your roof's age and orientation for southern sky exposure and unobstructed views for maximum energy generation. If your roof is more than 7 years old, you may want to wait to install solar panels until re-roofing to get the full value. Once you've made the decision to move forward with solar energy, be aware of solar energy scams. Some solar energy companies make false claims about the benefits and savings of their systems to convince homeowners to sign up. Use high-pressure sales tactics, such as limited-time deals, to pressure homeowners to make a rushed decision. Offer leasing options that promise low monthly payments and guaranteed energy savings, when the actual savings are lower and the lease terms are unfavorable. Use substandard or outdated equipment, potentially leading to poor performance and safety hazards. Scammers may pose as legitimate solar energy companies to collect personal information for identity theft. Be cautious of companies asking for large payments up front. Generally, down payments are no more than 10% of the cost of the work, or $1,000, whichever is less. The best way to avoid these scams is by hiring the right contractor. Deal only with state-licensed or registered contractors by checking with your state's regulatory agency to make sure the contractor is properly licensed to install a solar energy system. Get at least 3 written bids and make sure the bids are all based on the same work and material specifications. Ask the contractors for 3 references so you can verify that customers are satisfied with their work. Get your contract and any changes to the contract in writing. Make sure it specifies the work, materials, the company that will do the installation, and installation details with a payment schedule and completion timeline. Limit down payments to 10% of the work cost or $1,000, whichever is less, and only pay for completed work and delivered supplies. Check your state's laws for upfront payment limits, and don't make the final payment until you're satisfied with the completed work. Make sure your contractor pulls all the building and electrical permits before work begins, and that inspections are completed before final payments are made. Confirm warranties are secured upon completion of installation and detailed in the contract. Hiring a licensed contractor to install solar energy in your home ensures safety, quality work, compliance with regulations, warranty protection, and peace of mind. For additional resources, start by checking at your state contractor licensing and registration board, as well as other sources that can verify information.
I just want to say huge thanks to Catherine White, our Chief of Public Affairs, for helping with that subject matter, so thank you.
At this time, I'd like to open it up to the board for discussion, and I'd like to start out by saying that I think it was a very well put together videos for us to consider. Does anyone have any comments?
I'll make a comment. That's great that you showed that on the solar installations, because as you know, the importance of it, not only the financial aspect of it, but also the safety aspect. We have to make sure that a qualified contractor installs those, because the minute those panels are taken out of a box, they produce electricity. So it's a safety issue, have to make sure everything's installed correctly. Plus, for first responders, once the installation's complete, they have to know what they're up against. If there's a fire, God forbid, and they have to shut down it. So it has to be, thank you for bringing that, and it is very important as we strive to more solar. You know, we want to get energy independence and clean energy, so this is of utmost important to us. Thanks.
Through the chair, where will these be available for view for our contractors associations and other related?
So, NASLA's they're gonna promote these nationwide. They have resources for that. For California, what I'm suggesting is that we would make those available on our website, and that Mike was helpful in scheduling the meeting with the National Solar Association. We're also going to be with the California Association and see if they will distribute it to their members or make it available on their website as well. So it's all about getting the word out.
Through the chair, is there any plan for these videos to be translated eventually?
Tremendous idea, and I can recommend that, absolutely.
I think it would be good to have, I think the payment terms are our state law, but it says, 10% or $1,000, whichever is less, but check what the state law, if they could, I don't know if we can amend it to just say what our state law is, so people don't have to go look it up.
That was a controversial issue in developing the video because most states do not regulate the payments, believe it or not. And so, yeah, see what we can do with that. But we were able to get that in the video where we talk about it being 10% or $1,000, whichever is less. But an example in Arizona, they don't regulate payments at all. They believe that that's a decision that the two parties need to make.
So that is our payment.
Yeah, ours is 10% or 1,000, whichever is less. So that is in there.
It
Yeah.
is, but it'd be good to say, if we could delete the comment about check with your state law, that is our state law.
Okay. Got it.
To the chair. Dave, is it possible to get those videos out to building departments throughout California and have them intertwined with them so they can actually put them out there?
Absolutely, and we have a good relationship with Calvo, and we'd work with the California Building Official Association and see if they could distribute those for us. Absolutely.
Because I know I can talk to my department and see if they would grab that and put that out there, and then they could do that with the Public Utilities Commission as well, and DPW, and just have it where it's just available so they can actually see it and have that video on there. Anything helps, so that'd be great.
Anything helps, and any ideas on how we can get that solar video to consumers before they enter into contract would be so helpful. We would eliminate a lot of complaints if the contractor got paid after the consumer was satisfied with the work performed instead of before the work is done.
Yeah, through the chair, talking about getting it out there, social media, Instagram, stuff like that. I know that's one of the first things that I check when I get up in the morning, so.
And I just have one comment based on what Mr. Guy said. Because we work with Nevada, would we not leave in what he wants to take out about looking at another state law for that 10%? Wouldn't we now leave that in because that's a different state?
Yeah, I think what Member Guy recommended is that we be specific about that payment schedule as it relates to California. So the question is, could we add that to the video?
Okay. Just put the word California behind it.
Yes, yes.
Any other comments from the board? Any comments
I
from?
have one comment. Is that the final cut of the video? Yeah. I just know with ever-changing demographics, in my opinion, the video is just a little bit too long. If we can cut to the point, board member David Delatorre mentioned Facebook, YouTube, but it's way too long for something like that. 1 minute and less would be a heavy hitter type video in the future. Thanks.
Anyone else from the board? Any public comments? Okay. At this time, would any board member like to make a motion to rebrand the NASCLA video with the comments that were taken into consideration to, as CSLB videos to post on our website?
Board Member Cobos, I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second? Oh, let me turn it up.
Second.
Please state your name for the record.
There you go.
Diana Love. Joel Barton.
Aye.
Rodney Cobos.
Aye.
David De La Torre. Miguel Galarza. Amanda Gallo. Susan Granzella. Alan Guy.
Aye.
Jacob Lopez, approved absence. Michael Mark. Steve Pinelli. Jim Ruane. Mary Tykert, approved absence. The motion passes.
Thank you, Mariah. Next on the agenda is item D3, which includes our budget updates and statistics summary. For that report, we'll turn to our board's budget manager, Stacy Paul.
Thank you, Board Chair, and good morning, everyone. The budget update begins on page 48. This page summarizes the final budget expenses from last fiscal year, 22-23. CSLB had an authorized budget of $80 million, and the final year-end expenses came in at $74.3 million. In addition to the authorized expenditures, the board had an additional $6.3 million in mandatory external cost. The final revenue collected was $95.5 million, which ends the fiscal year with a budget surplus of $14.9 million. The year-end budget surplus is placed into the fund, and when added to the beginning balance, which was $9 million, we have a total reserve balance of $23.9 million. On the next page, the top chart shows last fiscal year 22-23 final budget and expenses through year end. Nothing too exciting to report. We spent 93% of our budget. The chart directly below shows our final year-end revenue. Overall, we ended the year higher than projected at $95.9 or $95.5 million, which is 16% more than prior year. If you flip the page, this chart is our fund condition. It projects out to budget year 24-25. The middle column is current year, where it shows our beginning fund balance of the 23.9, which I mentioned. Our projected revenue for this year is $90 million, and directly below that is our projected expenses, with the external cost showing $85 million. We anticipate a steady revenue at current fiscal year end, increasing our reserve balance to hopefully 4 months in reserves, which is approximately $29 million. On the next page, this is our construction management account fund condition. CSLB has already submitted the necessary documents to the department to authorize an increase in grant disbursements for this fiscal year. We requested an additional increase over prior year grant total disbursements from $175,000 to $225,000 due to the growth of the fund, and as annual contributions continue to increase. We should have a final outcome if the Department of Finance approves this request at the next December board meeting. If you flip the page 52, you'll see our governor's budget for this fiscal year 23-24. It shows our preliminary budget at $78.5 million with an authorized position count of 425. Keep in mind, this does not include the extra external costs that we have to pay out of our fund. Lastly, let me quickly touch on the statistical summary details on the last 4 pages. At fiscal year end, we saw increases in new applications and HIS registrations, slight drop in issuance of new licenses, but keep in mind that is comparing to extremely high year in fiscal year 21-22 when we had to play catch up due to exam exams being shut down due to COVID. So further, a recent increase in applications will be discussed during the licensing update later this morning. And renewals appear steady for the second half of last fiscal year and appear to be increasing the first 2 months of this year. This is the budget update, unless anybody has any questions. Yes, Susan?
At the risk of sounding like a broken record, again, I want to commend you on the reserve, because we were looking at a very desperate, wasn't a great picture way back when it was less than $1 million. So I'd like to commend you, your staff, and senior management for putting us in this position. And thank you. And we're looking forward to December's report on PSI.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Okay, this is an informational item. No proposed action is required from the board at this time. Thank you, Stacy. We will now go on to item D4, our administration update. Before we start, I'd like to take a moment to announce the retirement of CSLB's Chief of Administration, Mike Maliza, whom many of you know from his board meeting updates on CSLB personnel and facilities the past several years. Mike's last day in the office was September the 8th, and he received a well-attended send-off at CSLB headquarters, complete with a plaque presented by Registrar David Folk. Mike was unable to attend today because he is doing some well-earned traveling. On behalf of the board, thank you, Mike Maliza, on your over 10 years of service to CSLB. I will now turn it over to Chief Deputy Registrar Mike Jemneski, who will do the administrative update in the absence of a Chief Administration.
Thank you, Chair Love. I'll try to do the update justice for Mike Maliza. If we could trouble you all to turn to page 58, that begins the administration update and the update on personnel and facilities. So page 58 breaks down the number of personnel transactions for the past 2 fiscal years. Now, you heard in the budget update that we have 425 allocated positions for CSLB, and I think what's significant to report in this update is actually the vacancies, which begins on the top of page 59. We are pleased to report that we are down to 30 vacancies, which out of 425 positions, that's about 7%. That's really impressive. We try to stay at around 10, and we're down to 7%. And the last time we were that low was a month before COVID started. We had a time during COVID when we were up to 13, 14% vacancies. So we like to think that we can attribute some of this success in filling positions to our recruitment efforts and how we've kind of changed how we get the word out about vacancies at the board through different channels and participating in different job fairs and getting the word out. So that's a pleasant update for our personnel and recruitment. On to page 60. This just breaks down the statuses of our active leases and our contracts that are in progress or executed. Not too much to report here. You did hear about 2 of the contracts that are pending earlier in the registrar update. That's for 2 of our consultants. The administration division does work with the control agencies to get those executed. And then if you move to page 61, really the only thing to report here is training, but we should highlight that the administrative division, they track all this statutory required training for all the staff. But this bullet here at the bottom for training does not capture the full picture of how much we involve our staff with training, whether you'll hear about it later in the enforcement division. We did the enforcement academy, or when managers ask their staff to complete specified training for their job to develop skills. We do a lot of training. So what you see here is not the full picture. That's just what the administrative division tracks. But that's really it. It's a short administration update. And through the chair, back to you.
Thank you. Do any board members have any questions or comments? Do anybody in the public have any questions or comments? Okay, this is an informational item. No proposed action is required from the board at this time. Now we will go to item D5, Information Technology Update. Before I turn it over to the IT Advisory Committee Board Member Susan Granzella, I want to take a moment of personal privilege to, first of all, I want to thank all of you that are members of the board for the knowledge and growth and mentorship that you have given to me as I have grown in learning from this board. But I want to especially thank Susan Granzella for her mentorship and her friendship along the way, who has given me the guidance to be where I am today, to sit before you as the board chair. And she gave us a scare today. She initially stated she would be traveling and unable to attend this meeting. And Susan hasn't missed a meeting in over 7 years. And I know how heartfelt that would be for her. It would have been devastating if she had missed this meeting. So I want to thank you, Susan, and I'm very pleased to see you here today, and thank you for your mentorship and your friendship. So at this time, Susan, please present the IT update.
Okay. Hard act to follow. Thank you. I've also been on the board longest of any of the board members, and it's been a pleasure to work with new members. But I didn't want to miss the meeting, your first meeting, and also they now have web, access on planes, and I thought it would be rude to just sort of watch the meeting on a plane, so I wasn't going to do that. So anyway, thank you very much for your words. So thank you, Board Chair Love, and good morning, everyone. And on page 63 begins the Information Technology Update. Our Chief of CSLB Information Technology Division, Jason Perez, is on vacation this week. I am not. And as a member of the IT Advisory Committee, along with our new board member, not so new, board member Amanda Gallo, I've been asked to deliver the update since he's in Cancun, and for this important aspect of CSLB service. So while this is not everyone's favorite subject, fortunately, we're here at the beginning of the meeting rather than at the end. But Amanda and I have talked about this extensively. So we met with Jason before he left. We're living, and part of this are his words and what we wanted to add to this. It's very important. We were just talking about social media and getting word out and accessing. So on business modernization, we're living in a rapidly changing technological world, and we've made significant strides in updating our technology foundation to enhance operations. Recent developments in this area have included the development of the cornerstone of business modernization, cloud integration. And we did have a moment's discussion about having to explain cloud, but I think everyone understands the concept by this time. By adopting cloud services, we've been able to significantly reduce costs and at the same time enhance our operations. We're in the initial phase of this transformation, focusing on a comprehensive review of our contractor license application process and methodology. It's really one of the basic things to start with. This includes a major shift from paper-based systems to an online platform. It's essential to engage both paper-based internal and external stakeholders at this stage to align our modernization goals for the future. We're currently evaluating vendors to help us move this process online. We have 3 that they are discussing all of these options. The IT Board Committee, Board Member Amanda and I requested a separate update and monthly meeting with Jason Perez, the chief, and we plan to present the cost, risk, and benefit of these options. These are significant options, and we will have those together, we think, for a motion at December's meeting. That's a big task, but we think Jason, who will be rested, is up to it. Information technology security update in line with State of California's cybersecurity strategy plan, also known as CalSecure. We're continually improving our cybersecurity capabilities for both internal and external data. We're also working alongside the Department of Consumer Affairs, transitioning the advanced IT service management solution that keeps everyone informed in real time, that's stakeholders, our team, and even the public, about the status of their IT requests. Always important. We're also advancing our efforts to manage security awareness, which was just mentioned about the training. Every single member of CSLB staff is required to undergo security training. It's not just a compliance checkbox, it's a cornerstone for improving an environment that is conscious of security risks. We cover everything from data protection to password management. So the next part is communication infrastructure, and this is actually, I'm an old IT person, I think it's exciting. The communication is the bedrock of any successful organization, and to make our communication more seamless, we're migrating from the existing VoIP phone system to Microsoft Teams. Many of you have probably encountered that when we've been logging in or working with CSLB. It's more than just a phone system, it's a complete cloud-based communication suite that fosters collaboration and productivity. I think everyone at this point has used Zoom, Microsoft Teams, WebEx, and we know how important that is. With Microsoft Teams, we're converging on a single communication hub, eliminating the need for separate phone and conference systems. The transition for headquarters is already complete, and our remote offices are next in line. Over the next few months, we'll be closely monitoring this transition, resolving any issues, and providing ongoing support to staff. We'll provide an update on this important implementation at the December meeting. And the more exciting part is to kick off, it's a new project that is starting this month to revolutionize the call center operations. If you currently call in, you're using a system that's at least 20 years old, and we'll be migrating to Amazon Web Services, AWS Connect, and transition from our current call center. It has limited fault tolerance capabilities. So when we go to Amazon AWS Connect, that means we're able to provide redundancy with services 24/7, 365 days a year. Big deal. And I think there's it's put in to improve operational efficiency, enhance customer experience, scale with ease, and integrate advanced analytics. The project kicks off this month, September 2023, and we're aiming for full implementation by December 2023. Again, we'll have a full report on that. It's a major leap forward that replaces a 20-year-old system, and it will have significant benefits in the long run. So we will see you in December with all of the things I just promised, even while Jason's on vacation. And that's the end of our IT advisory report.
Thank you, Susan. Are there any questions from the board? Any questions from the public or comments? Seeing none, this is an informational item. No proposed action is required from the board at this time.